Welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for this very special event, which is part of the 28th Global Brain Awareness Week, during which organizations around the world host free events to raise awareness about the human brain and brain science. Now, we do encourage you to try and find a quiet space for this session if possible, so that you can make the most of this opportunity. And again, if possible, we'd also like to ask you to have your camera on, as this fosters a sense of safety and trust for all of the participants. We do understand, though, that people are joining from all around the world and from different time zones, and we thank you for taking the time to do so. Here at the NeuroDevelopment Institute, we are particularly delighted to welcome you today to meet a very special human. Brenda Hershey is here with us to talk about her work using trauma recovery yoga in Kurdistan and Ukraine. Brenda will also take us through a seated practice so that we can experience these gentle techniques firsthand. As we go through the event, if you've got questions you'd like to ask Brenda, as I'm sure you will, please pop them into the chat and we will open up the discussion once we've completed the practice. My colleague Gabriella and I will be keeping an eye on those as we go. Now, before we start, we're going to do something actually that is very similar to what Brenda has just walked us through. So I would love to ask you to check in with yourselves and notice. This is a slightly different way of coming at the same thing. On a scale of 1 to 7, how present do you feel right now for this event? Don't make a judgment on the number that comes up. Just notice it. Perhaps you've still got some distractions that it might be beneficial to set aside for now. Maybe some thoughts are cluttering your attention. Give yourself permission to set them aside so that you can really soak up what's available here today. And the second question, in a similar format, on a scale of 1 to 7, how open and curious are you about the learning that will come your way today? Again, no judgment. We are where we are, but sometimes doing a little check-in can help us to be more aware of that. And with awareness comes new choices. And now, without further ado, I would like us all to say hello to our special guest, Brenda Hershey. Hello, Brenda. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Brenda. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Wonderful. Brenda, we have so many questions for you. Do you mind if I just kick off?
Please do.
And throw one at you, and let's see where this goes.
Let's jump right in. Okay.
Let's jump right in. Okay. So first and foremost, can you tell us what is trauma recovery yoga and how is it different from any other kind of yoga?
Trauma recovery yoga is, well, we say all yoga is good yoga, but not all yoga is good for trauma. So trauma recovery yoga was created by Joyce Boson in 2016 in the US. And it was created because she was diagnosed with complex PTSD. And after a very traumatic experience, went back to yoga. She was a yoga instructor. So she started going back to her regular yoga classes, and she found herself more triggered than treated. So she'd go to a class and they would turn the lights off. They would walk around the room. They would touch her without consent. They would play music that reminded her of her son who had just passed, and many other things like this that would have her leaving the class feeling super activated. And so what she did was she went home and started slowly piecing together a yoga sequence that were full of things that made her feel better. She didn't know why they made her feel better, but they did. And she was being treated at the VA, Veterans Affairs in the US, and because her son was in the military. And her doctor noticed that her PTSD symptoms were improving incredibly quickly. So they asked her what she was doing, and she was like, actually, I pieced together this yoga sequence. So what she didn't realize at the time was that she put together a series of postures paired with breathing techniques and visualizations, affirmations that were consistently stimulating the vagus nerve, helping to bring balance back to the nervous system, working with neuroplasticity, all of these things we know now. But at the time, she just felt better. So she had created this sequence. It is essentially the same sequence that we are teaching here in Iraq and will be teaching in Ukraine. We just have classes for adults and children. Like we've created a variety from this core sequence. And they were like, this is incredible. Can you teach this to the veterans and these other veterans who are suffering from PTSD and at this school and at this elderly home? And she realized quickly that there was such a huge demand that she created a training to train other people to teach this practice. And so I happened to be one of the students. In 2019, I got trained to teach the practice and then helped the organization grow in the US and trained hundreds of people in the US. And now here I am in Kurdistan doing the same thing. So yeah.
Interesting. Can you walk us through how you got from doing this in the US to how you got to doing it in Kurdistan? That sounds like a bit of a journey as well.
That is a jump, yes. So I was working for a little over a year in the US. I had first gotten trained to teach, and then I was, over the course of the year, training to become a trainer. So we were traveling around the US and training mental health professionals, medical professionals, yoga instructors, and just people who were looking for new tools and techniques to heal from their own traumas. And then I finished that year off the last semester. It was the last semester of my master's degree. And I studied abroad in Greece, teaching trauma recovery yoga to refugees in camps there as part of my thesis. And from there, a few days before I left Greece, I met a man who had just left here where I am now, which is the Kurdistan region of Iraq. And they were looking for someone to fill his position here working in refugee camps. So it's how the universe works, right? So I sent my resume, and a month later I was here. That was January 2020, and I have been here ever since. So I started out working in the different humanitarian sectors with other organizations. So I was just continuing to teach TRI in my spare time. And then after about a year and a half of working in the health and livelihood sectors, I realized it just became really clear that while like psychological support in Kurdistan and in the Middle East in general is hugely underdeveloped, the first psychology department in a university in Kurdistan was founded in 2014 after the genocide of the Yazidis, which is mind-blowing. Especially with a place with so much trauma. So I think there are like 35, the last time I checked, this was about 6 months ago. So there were 35 certified psychiatrists in this country, which is insane. So through my experience working directly with people in the camps, it just became really clear that, they had no mental health support, very little. It's kind of up and coming at this point. So there's more and more, but as little mental health, like talk therapy services that are here, there are no mind-body methods. So we know that trauma is stored in the body. There are no services for people here like this. So it really felt like divine timing and the perfect place to introduce this here. And so I launched TRI Global, which is the international organization affiliated with the company in the US.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for talking us through that, because that so much has happened. And as you say, so many things seem to fall into the right place in the right time.
Thank you.
Gabriella, can I invite you to jump in here? And I know you have questions as well.
It's an interesting context in that sense that, yoga comes from India, right? And you are in Kurdistan, and I'm just wondering how people understand this approach.
That has been something we continue to navigate, but I will say it's been so much better received than I anticipated, because I think one of the main reasons is because from the get-go, we emphasize that we speak science, not Sanskrit. So we make it really clear that, we are focused on physiologically what is happening in the body. How is this really helping you if you practice trauma recovery yoga? So we don't bring any religion into, it's not where we steer clear of spirituality, I guess. So I'm not saying namaste even at the end of the class. I'm saying thank you. And I think when we make this really clear from the beginning, people are a lot more receptive to it, because otherwise, if there's a hint of anything spiritual whatsoever here, it's a big no-no.
Yeah. Thank you. And I really like this. We speak science and not Sanskrit, because that can connect really in other regions. And what came up for me, because you talk about that this is a body, it's a body, you use also body language because you do certain postures, I suppose, during the yoga practice. And what about the language barrier? Because you speak English, as I can hear that. Maybe you speak the local languages. So how does this work?
Well, I am learning to teach it in Arabic, but I'm not quite there yet. So I always have an interpreter when I teach. And for a long time, I've been the only certified TRI instructor here. TRI is Trauma Recovery Yoga. And actually just in the last 3 months, since the beginning of the year, we, part of this growth I was talking to you about earlier, we now have 10 more certified TRI instructors here. They're all Syrian refugees or local mental health workers. So I've always had an interpreter, and this might be new information. It was for me, but Iraq is actually super diverse. So all of our content, all of our classes, we need Arabic, and then both dialects of Kurdish, which are basically different languages. So we always have one of these 3 languages going on. And yeah, so now we have locals teaching in their languages, which is, it's not sustainable for me to be the only starting to really solve that problem. Yeah.
Sorry, we missed the very last bit of that, Brenda. You just froze momentarily. I don't know if you want to repeat that last sentence.
Yes, so now we have these 10 certified instructors who are teaching in their own language, which is how we make this sustainable.
Yeah, that is just wonderful to see that development and growth of the organization. I'm guessing for you personally, there have been things that you have had to learn about yourself as you have, I suppose, leaned into the challenges of doing this. Is there one thing that you now know about you that you didn't know when you headed out there?
That's a lovely question. So much learning through trial and error, like just showing up, doing the best you can. And sometimes that just does not work. All of our systems that we had in place for TRI in the US, we've had to often majorly adjust to make it work here and to meet people where they are, which is our motto, meeting people where they are. So one thing that I have learned is that my way is not always the right way. It's not like what I think is the best way may not be. So really listening, being a really avid listener, and I'm always partnered with locals. So it's never just me going in and coordinating alone. I always have a local partner to help me. I mean, I'm very culturally aware. I've been here over 3 years, and before that, I've had a lot of exposure to the region, but still there are things that surprise you. So just always admitting that and having this approach that I can't just rely on my own understanding, and being open and curious and compassionate.
That's beautiful. I mean, I think that really sums up so much for all of us, doesn't it? That if we are so convinced that we have the full view of something, then we really close off so many other opportunities and possibilities as well. I wonder if I can ask you a little bit about your work in Ukraine as well, Brenda. I know a lot of people would be very interested in how you got involved there and what you've been doing.
Yes, so we are planning to be replicating our program in Ukraine in the fall. So right now, essentially what our program looks like is the initial 20-hour teacher training. And in this training, it's very interactive. So we have 3 different classes. We have a 45-minute yoga class. We have a 30-minute chair yoga class, which proves to be really accessible, especially for people who have never stepped on a yoga mat before, which is most of the people that we serve. And then we have a 30-minute children's class, which is super fun. So in this 20-hour teacher training, the participants practice each of these classes themselves. And then we break down each class section by section. And we learn the science behind the postures, the breath, the meditations, each part of it. And then they break out into groups, like smaller groups, and they practice guiding each other through each section of each class. So by the end of it, they've practiced everything, they have a basic understanding of the science, and they've practiced guiding each other. However, it's still not enough to to teach a class. So we have a 2 to 3 month mentorship program. We have a lot of resources available online, all available in the local languages. And then after this, we place them. They have to send us a video of them teaching a full class. We give them feedback, and then we place them in the community in a paid teaching position. So this is the program that we will be implementing in Ukraine as well, just a more compact version. So instead of a 2 to 3 month mentorship program, it'll be a few weeks, a bit more intense. And yeah, so we'll be there in the fall. We're partnering with a couple local organizations serving women and with staff in trauma treatment centers around the country. And we'll be training their beneficiaries and their staff to teach these practices and to bring them to their communities.
I'm sure it's much needed with all that's been going on there over the last few years, as it is in everywhere else too. Gabriella, would you like to jump in with anything?
Yes, what came up for me, because we are talking about trauma, which is an extreme, and then I work with people in a less extreme part of the world, and there is this burnout epidemic, and I was just wondering, what is the difference between burnout and trauma, if there is any differences, and how do you see, could this be used for those people, this yoga form, that would it be helpful for these people who have burnout or have burnout?
This is such a good perspective, I think, to bring to the conversation, because oftentimes we hear trauma and you're like, oh, well, I don't have any big trauma, or my trauma is not, I didn't experience war or displacement or something like that. So the comparison, so making it relevant for everyone, right? So I personally feel that this 9 to 5, these 9 to 5 working hours keep us in this trauma cycle that can very easily lead to burnout. And 5 days a week, like, when do you have to take care of yourself? It just feels like a lot. And I hope that we're moving to a place where we are, kind of breaking out of this system. But I think burnout is so common, and because it's not an obvious trauma, we aren't approaching it as such. So we also provide trainings for humanitarian organizations for their staff, and we educate them on compassion fatigue, burnout, and self-care as the antidote, which is hugely powerful. We just finished a 3-day teacher training yesterday with a local feminist organization here in Kurdistan, and they hadn't thought of how important it is at least from their feedback, to take care of themselves. Their focus is, on the people they're serving. And I'm like, yeah, trauma symptoms are contagious. So whether it's, compassion fatigue, vicarious trauma, or burnout, which we're all susceptible to, regardless of whether or not the people we're serving have, noticeable trauma. It's something for us all to be aware of.
Could I jump in on that actually, Brenda, because I think, this has really raised something very interesting, which is, of course, there are certain people who are very caring people, and then they tend to go into professions where they are caring for others. And as you say, finding that time to care for yourself, which is so critical if you want to be able to do this for the long haul. And, we see this in parenting, we see this in teaching, we see this in so many walks of life where people always give first before they take that time to understand that, their value in the situation and their value has to be at least equal to everyone else, so that they can get that care. How do you create the discipline to make sure that you look after yourself?
Well, actually, I had an experience soon after coming here that was really eye-opening. So I had presented when I was in the US, traveling around the country and doing these trainings. I was presenting on compassion fatigue, burnout, and self-care, right? And then I came here, and one of the first projects I worked on, I was on it for a year. I was leading a team working in Syrian refugee camps, supporting the refugees to start and expand small businesses. And we had 300 refugees or beneficiaries, and I loved serving in this way. I felt very driven, and in the beginning, I was showing up. We had to visit each beneficiary multiple times in their homes and get information and hear their stories in great detail. And yeah, so every day for months, we were doing this. We were in the field, we were in the camps, we were in their homes. And in the beginning, I was really, I was enthusiastic. I was very compassionate. I was practicing my Arabic with them. And after about 2 months of this, I had an aha moment of, there was a woman, we were visiting her, and she was telling me her story about how no one in the family can find work, and her one son had died, and just like multiple horrible stories. And I remember standing there looking at her with no expression on my face, just thinking, listen, lady, like, we have 7 more people to visit today. Like, we don't have time to hear all of this again. And, I had just, my feelings of compassion had totally fizzled, So it was really an aha moment. Like, I went home and I realized, because I've always been, I'm aware of these concepts. I've always had a pretty strong self-care practice, I feel. But I realized that as the trauma and stress in your life increases, so must your practices. Mm-hmm. So I really needed to up my game with self-care, like my spiritual practices, my meditation, like all of the things that we do to take care of ourselves. So since then, honestly, it's one of my main priorities, I would say, but it's a journey, I think, for each of us, and it varies, like what we do to take care of ourselves. So I get my sleep, I stay hydrated. If ever I'm starting to feel off, I go back to the basics. I go for a run, and if I just do like these 3 things, for example, I've got my foundation back. But yeah, it's a process. Yeah.
It sure is. It sure is. Thank you for sharing that, Brenda. I'm sure that'll be very useful for a lot of people. So we're just coming up to about 1/3 of the way through now. I wonder, would this be a good time to start our practice?
Yeah, sure. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Great. It's very accessible. So wherever you're sitting is perfectly fine. You need nothing but yourself and an open mind. And before we start, I will pull an I am card. So before all of our classes, and even in all of our classes with our beneficiaries, each person gets an I am card. And this helps us work with neuroplasticity, right? So this ability we have to rewire our brain for healthier, more positive thoughts and beliefs. And a lot of times the people we're working with, you know, they're not, the self-talk is, it's hard to talk to themselves positively is what they share with us. So, and I think that's really common.
It is.
So, right.
We've talked about it at other things during this week, and it comes up again and again. So absolutely. I love that you've connected it to neuroplasticity, that we have learned these things in our heads and we can unlearn them and learn something new instead. It's a
One
process.
decision at a time, one thought at a time. Yeah.
Mm.
So our collective I am is I am courageous.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. All right. So this will be about 20 minutes. So sitting comfortably, turn here. You can rest against the back of the chair. Let your feet find the floor. Let your hands rest on your legs. Either closing your eyes, or you can soften your gaze, focus on one point, and breathe in and out of your nose here. Just taking a few mindful breaths. Again, noticing any sensations in the body, in the mind, and turning any judgment into curiosity as we move and breathe together today. We'll start with some active self-regulation, and the first piece is orientation. So just finding yourself in your space. We can do this by engaging the 5 senses. So first, noticing 3 different sounds you can hear right now. Counting to yourself. Maybe you can hear your breath. Feeling the air on your skin. Your clothes touching your skin. Hearing the words, I am present. I am peaceful. I am breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Moving into grounding, which is literally just noticing your connection to the ground. Noticing your feet on the floor, the weight of your body on the chair, the weight of your hands on your legs. Feeling supported here. Hearing the words, I am grounded, I am supported, I am present. Inhale. Exhale. We notice what's happening around us. Now we'll move our attention inward, finding our center. Oftentimes, during a stressful or traumatic situations, we might find ourselves off center with our focus, our energy scattered. So now we practice bringing that energy back in, noticing any sensations in the abdomen area, and finding our center by lifting the pelvic floor. So engaging your abdominal muscles. As you inhale, sit up a little taller. Exhale fully, pressing your belly button in toward your spine. Let's do that again. Inhale, sit tall, engaging your core. Exhale. One more time, breathe in. And let it go. Breathing naturally again, hearing the words, I am centered, I am powerful, I am present. Moving to the 4th and last piece of self-regulation, which is the breath. Our breath is our presence. always available to us to bring us back to this moment, to our bodies, to our internal experiences. Just taking a few more mindful breaths here. Tracing your inhales in through the nose, the throat, into the lungs, and tracing your exhale back out. Continue with these mindful breaths. Noticing here how far the breath is traveling into the body. Maybe it stops in the lungs, or maybe it reaches the belly. Not changing anything just yet, just noticing. Knowing that oftentimes we might be only breathing from the chest, completely unaware. And when that's the case, our body is signaling to the brain that there is stress or danger present, even if there's not. I often find myself focused on the laptop, just working, breathing really shallowly. And when I'm breathing from the chest, my body is operating from a stressed or activated state. So the first key is to notice, and then we can take back control at any time by simply taking a few breaths from the belly. So placing one hand on your stomach, and on your next inhale, feeling your belly rise even just a little bit. Exhale. Inhale, big belly. Exhale fully. Do that 2 more times with your breath. As our body signals to the brain, all is well. I am breathing. I am safe. Breathing naturally again, bringing your hands back down to your legs. And now we'll do a more active breath together. We'll do a box breath. So what we'll do is inhale for a count of 4, hold at the top for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, and we'll repeat that for about 1.5 minutes. So first exhaling any stale air, and then we'll inhale through the nose. 2, 3, 4, hold at the top, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale and keep counting to yourself, just focusing on the counting. This breath is a really quick and effective way to calm the body's stress response system. Great to use if you can't fall asleep, if you have insomnia. And also really great to do while you are in a stressful situation, as focusing on the counting helps to preoccupy your mind. Do 1 more full cycle of this breath. And whenever you finish that cycle, breathing naturally again. And just noticing here any shift already in how you may feel, mind or body, before we've even moved our bodies. That is the power of a little breath and mindfulness. Inhale. Exhale. Let your shoulders drop down. And now we'll add a little movement with some neck rolls. So bringing your chin toward your chest. We'll inhale, bring the right ear toward the right shoulder. And drop your head back. Exhale to the left. And chin to chest. So inhaling to the right and back. Exhale left and center. Keep moving with your breath at your pace. Remembering this is your body, your yoga, your rules. So if a circle does not feel good, seeing what does. Listening to your body here. As long as you are breathing fully, you will get the benefits of this posture, which are stimulating the vagus nerve. Again, helping to bring balance back into the nervous system, sending calming messages throughout your body and mind. One more full circle, pausing at center. Here we'll inhale, exhale, and on your next inhale, we'll do the other side. So inhale to the left and back, exhale right and center. Keep moving with your breath at your pace. Noticing any cracking or popping. That's just stagnant old energy leaving the body, literally nitrogen escaping the joints, making space. One more full circle. Pausing next time you come to the center. Taking a few breaths here, let any dizzying subside. That's totally natural. And choosing your I am for this session together today. Whatever you want to remind yourself of today, remembering that whatever follows these two words, I am, have a really powerful effect on how we think about ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, and how we show up with others. Maybe I am kind, I am worthy, I am enough, I am beautiful, I am grateful. Choosing your I am and reminding yourself throughout the rest of our session today. Inhale. Exhale. I am. And filling in the blank for you. From here, we'll blink the eyes open and inhale. Bring your arms out to a T. Big breath in. As you exhale, right arm comes under, left arm over, and just kind of give yourself a big hug here. You can cross the right ankle over the left, maybe the right knee over the left knee, dropping your chin toward your chest, and just breathing here. Feeling that opening in your shoulder blades where we often hold a lot of stress or tension. Maybe using your fingers to kind of massage into your arms, shoulders, back. Hearing the words, I am safe, I am okay, I am more than enough. Inhale, exhale. Now you can either stay here, or if you'd like a fuller stretch, you can bend the elbows, maybe bring the back of the arms toward touch, or maybe wrap the palms around to touch, seeing what feels okay here for you. And we'll inhale, lift the elbows, look up. Exhale, lower the elbows, bring your forehead toward your hands. Again, inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Do that one more time. Breathe in and exhale. We'll inhale, slowly unwind the arms, unwind the legs, and we'll do the other side. So big breath in. Exhale, left arm comes under, right arm over, and then the left ankle or left knee over the right. Again, bringing your chin toward your chest, breathing here, and resting. Knowing that you don't have to be anywhere or do anything else right now, then just be here. Inhale. Exhale. You can either stay here Or if you'd like a fuller stretch in the shoulders, you can bring the back of the arms toward touch, maybe wrap those palms around to touch. And we'll inhale, lift the elbows, look up. Exhale, lower the elbows, bring your forehead toward your hands. Again, inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. One more time. Inhale, slowly unwind, bring your arms out to a T, and then we'll reach the arms high. As you exhale, let your shoulders kind of melt down here. Having your hands at about eye level, we'll do a visualization meditation. So here you can either gaze in between your hands or you can close your eyes, whatever feels more natural. Trying to imagine that you're holding a balloon and you have a pen or a permanent marker, and you're going to write or draw all over this balloon something that is holding you back, something that's weighing you down, it's no longer serving you. Could be a fear, a doubt, an unhealthy habit. Choosing what that is for you today. And setting an intention here to lovingly release this thing. Knowing that when we can release, we make space for new, more aligned things to come into our lives. Inhale, lift it a little higher. Maybe feeling the weight of the balloon in your hands. And exhale, separate your hands as they fall down to your legs. And that balloon floats away, feeling a weight lift off your shoulders. Hearing the words, I am releasing. I am moving forward. I am capable of positive change. Inhale. Exhale out of the mouth. Inhale, reach both arms high. And exhale one more time. Let your shoulders kind of drop down here with your hands at about eye level. And you've got another balloon. But this time, I want you to write or draw all over this balloon something you want to bring into your life, something you want to create, to manifest, a goal you want to accomplish, something that will enhance your life. Could be creating or developing a skill or a healthy habit. Choosing one thing for you today and trying to imagine yourself with this thing already. What might that look like? Noticing what you're doing, who you're with. Maybe a little smile crossing your face, just imagining the possibilities. And taking it just one step further, trying to feel the feeling as if you already have this thing. What might that feel like? Inhale, lift it a little higher. Exhale, separate your hands as that balloon floats away, taken by the universe as a wish or a really solid intention. Hearing the words, I am open to receiving all the good that is meant for me. I am ready. I am worthy. And I am capable. Inhale. Exhale out of the mouth. Blinking your eyes open. We'll inhale, reach both arms high. Exhale, start to reach forward, and we'll forward fold from here. So you can either have your hands resting on your legs or you can reach for the ground. Seeing what feels okay for you here. Remembering if it ever hurts, just back up a little bit. It should never be painful. You can let your head hang heavy. Maybe grab for opposite elbows. Breathing in and out of your nose. Giving our hearts a chance to rest from pumping blood up to the brain all day. Getting the benefits of an inversion without doing a handstand or headstand. And feeling your spine elongate. You can shake your head yes and no. Big breath in. And exhale out of the mouth. From here, engaging your core, we'll start to roll up really slowly, one piece at a time, your face coming up last. Pausing here. Maybe bringing a hand to your heart, a hand to your belly. And just checking in. The pauses are just as important, if not more, than the postures. And each time we check in, we simply notice. We strengthen this mind-body connection, making it easier to hear what our body is telling us out of our practice, in our lives. Maybe noticing a calming sensation in the body, knowing that this forward fold and slow roll up, again, really stimulates the vagus nerve, sending calming, safe messages throughout the body and into the brain. Inhale. Exhale, hearing the words, I really am healing, one breath at a time. From here, bringing your hands back down to your legs. And just how we started, sitting comfortably. You can rest against the back of the chair. Maybe drop the chin toward the chest and either close the eyes or focus on one point. Breathing in and out of the nose. We'll move into our closing meditation, which will be a guided body scan. So first, again, bringing in this visualization piece, trying to imagine a light just above your head, either like a laser beam or maybe more of a ball of healing, glowing energy, whatever resonates more. Seeing its color. And as this light slowly scans down your body, you can imagine it dissolving any tension, filling you up with this light, this health, this strength, this courage. And most importantly, just checking in, noticing as we scan down. So starting from the top, you can soften your forehead, soften your eyes, your nose, your cheeks, releasing any tension in the face. Maybe unclench the jaw. You can rock it out side to side. Feeling that light scan down your neck, your throat. Inhale. And as you exhale, let your shoulders drop down just like 5% more. As that light moves into your chest, we'll pause here in your heart space. And I want you to bring to mind all of the things, big or small, that you are grateful for today. From waking up in a comfortable bed, taking a hot shower, eating a good meal, laughing with a friend, walking barefoot in the grass. Whatever that looks like for you today, seeing those images flash on the screen of your mind. And with a really open heart, saying thank you. I am thankful, I am grateful, I am worthy of this love, and I am open for more. Inhale. Exhale. Gratitude. Scanning from the top of the spine, just tracing your awareness down into the shoulder blades, into the mid back, and into the lower back. Feeling the warmth in your belly as that light clears out, cleanses the digestive system, the internal organs, releasing any tension in the belly. Scanning past the hips, into the thighs, the knees, the calves, and finally into the feet. Feeling or seeing your whole body lit up here. Healthy, beautiful, courageous. Sending loving messages throughout your body. And coming back to your I am, whatever you chose for you today. Reminding yourself that now, for the rest of our session and for the rest of the day, knowing that it is already true, sometimes we just need a little reminder. And there's no greater reminder than one that comes from within. Inhale. Exhale. I am. Slowly bringing your hands to your heart and just checking in one last time, noticing any difference, body or mind, and how you feel now from how you felt when we first sat down. Knowing that this peaceful place, this feeling, is within you and accessible to you always. Inhale together. Exhale out of the mouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. That was wonderful. Gabriella, would you like to share anything after that? Did you notice anything?
It's hard to snap out of that feeling. It takes a minute.
Yeah, it's slowing down. There is a very big calm. Very much presence with that. Is just being is enough. And there is this joy and happiness. Beautiful. I have a smile. I felt already I heard once you said smile, and I had that smile already. It's beautiful how the body makes you relax and just be and enjoy it. Thank you very much. It's I can't even say anything else.
Thank you.
Yeah, I imagine people are probably going to take a few minutes to fully rejoin the conversational space. So we can maybe at this point see if there was anything. Actually, everybody seems to have really just been very focused on what we were doing. So there aren't quite so many comments and questions as we might normally expect. But I think, one of the things that I noticed as we did that, and something that came up as we were going through that, Brenda, was that, Gabriella and I this week have been talking a lot about the importance of movement and, how movement contributes to our overall well-being, to our brain function and so on. And I noticed something, I'm not quite sure where I picked up on this earlier today, but I wonder if you can maybe shed any light on it. Somebody was talking about, how the slower and more gentle movements, those are actually very beneficial for the nervous system, rather than, for instance, the more active and energetic movements that we might get in typical exercises or anything else. Is there something you can share about that?
I think there, I don't know specifically, like, for example, like I know with like boxing, that if, or another active sport, that it can be very healing for the nervous system if you do it mindfully. Like if you're focused on your breath, mainly if you're syncing the breath with the movement. And I think for some active sports like that, it can be very healing. You can, integrate your traumas in this way. But I think there is definitely something with slowing down and doing so while you're moving in a mindful way, that sends more calm, like stimulates the vagus nerve in a different way, and does send more like calming, safe messages, versus I think naturally the more active, then the more your sympathetic nervous system will be stimulated, even if if it's in a safe environment. So yeah, I think there's definitely this difference of like stimulating the parasympathetic in a calming, safe environment versus this more active approach. But
so something else I noticed as well was the nature of, part of the exercise was very much about a safe feeling, creating that feeling of being held. And I guess it almost had an air of somatic coaching about it, where we're looking at really the signals that are going from the body to the brain as well, about what we're experiencing. Is that something that you draw on deliberately with the trauma recovery yoga?
It is, yeah. So creating a safe feeling with these postures, but also in them speaking science throughout the practice. I'm sure you picked up on that. And that's another way that we help people understand what's happening in their bodies. Because I can't tell you how many people we've worked with here who are like, this is the first time that I really paid attention to my breath. And they're like 40 years old. And I think that's true for a lot of us. We're not giving our breath the attention it deserves. And it's the most powerful regulator of stress. And we have access to it 24/7. So I think in these different ways, by weaving in the science through the postures themselves, the knowledge, the information that we're giving them, in addition to the postures and the tools, can be really empowering. We also do, so I mentioned we have these 3 different classes. We have the 45-minute yoga class, the chair yoga class, and then the kids class. So each of these sequence is it's the same sequence every time. So that as well can be really empowering because, you know, these are people who have never done yoga before. So it's really interesting to see the progression of like the first couple yoga classes. You know, I think this is also true for everyone. It was for me. You know, it's very much about the physicality of the practice. You're looking around like, am I doing this right? Forcing yourself to hold every posture a lot of the time, even if you're like shaking and, you know, and you can see the progression. So when we have these like 8-week programs and the participants will be practicing once a week, you know, by week 3, 4, 5, they're really starting, it's turning into a moving meditation. You can see the progress of it moving from the physical to the mental. And it's really beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that anybody has noticed and maybe wants to share or wants to ask Brenda about at this stage? We can open up now for some questions, whether it's about her work in general or about the exercises that we've just been through.
Don't be shy.
I have a question, but I would like to give other people also an opportunity to ask.
Mm-hmm.
But let's wait for that a little bit.
And Janie said she tried box breathing before. It really helped. That's great. You know, with box breathing specifically, so holding your breath, it can incite panic and stimulates the sympathetic branch of the nervous system, which is the fight, flight, freeze. So we don't necessarily, like, that's not necessarily a good thing. However, so we don't hold our breath in the practice besides with box breathing. And the idea is you're training your nervous system, you're training your body for when you do find yourself holding your breath, it's almost like muscle memory. Your body knows what it feels like to release it. So you're more able to notice when that happens. So box breath is it's all of our tools that we integrate they're very integratable by themselves. But also we try to keep them pretty simple and we take what's effective. So box breathing, it's an easy one to remember. It's a great one to do while you're in a stressful situation. And yeah,
We've had over the course of the week a number of questions actually about situations where people are experiencing fear. And is box breathing something that can be employed to help to subside those feelings?
Yes, for sure. And also, like before I go, if I'm nervous about something, if I'm going to give a talk or whatever it might be, I'll either do box breath or because when you inhale, your heart rate increases, but when you exhale, it decreases, it slows down. So I'll either do box breath or I'll inhale for a count of 3 and exhale for a count of 6. That's also a really great one to do.
Yeah, increasing that heart rate variability is definitely a benefit of these breathing exercises as well, because I think people assume that they want their heart rate to be, you know, very consistent, but having that variability is very beneficial to us as well.
It is. This was actually one of the things we tested in our research study here was heart rate variability. And actually, I can tell you, we had 2 groups of women, local humanitarian workers, and then young survivors of genocide, Yazidi women. And they practiced 1 tri-class a week for 8 weeks. And we tested a few different things. One of them was heart rate variability, which if anyone doesn't know, is the amount of space between your heartbeats. And you want there to be as much variability as possible so that you can basically activate the sympathetic or the parasympathetic nervous system, depending on your circumstances. So you don't want to be in a calm state all the time, but you obviously don't want to be in a stress state all the time. But you rather, if you're walking down the street, there's no reason to be activated. You want to be in a rather calm state. But if you see a car driving toward you, you want to quickly be able to activate the sympathetic nervous system to run, right? So the higher the heart rate variability, the quicker and more effective you're able to bounce back and forth and come back to a balanced state. So 2/3 of our beneficiaries had improved heart rate variability, and 1/3 of the humanitarians had an improved heart rate variability. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
That's fantastic. And it sounds to me as almost in sport, the mobility and preparing for the future challenges, and
Exactly.
what came up for me, resilience, because this can lead to much more resilience, I assume.
You're absolutely right. And that's another really big piece of what we do. So it's for both recovery. We know that it helps. So in this research study, I'll just cite this. When we tested anxiety, depression related symptoms, almost half of the beneficiaries had improved anxiety symptoms, 1/3 of the humanitarians, 1/3 of both beneficiaries and humanitarians had improved depression related symptoms. 2/3 of the beneficiaries had improved physical trauma symptoms, and every single humanitarian had some improvement in their physical trauma symptoms. The last thing that we measured was resilience levels. So 1/3 of the beneficiaries had an improved resilience level, and half of the humanitarians did as well, which these numbers are like absolutely incredible. But my story with TRI is actually one of resilience. So when I started with TRI, I was passionate about yoga and about serving people who had experienced trauma. But I loved the idea of marrying these two passions of mine. But when I started with them, to be completely honest, I hadn't experienced any big T trauma myself. So I think there was a part of me that didn't really see how this was helping me. So I got certified to teach, and I was teaching classes, and I was really diving into this rabbit hole of trauma-informed care and connecting all these dots. And it was about 6 months into my work with TRI that I experienced a series of big T traumas, a series of deaths in my life of people really close to me. And in those moments, I practiced the self-regulation for resilience that we did at the start of our practice, and we do at the start of all of our practices. So this self-regulation is orientation, noticing the space around you, grounding, noticing your connection to the ground, the chair, centering, and breath. And they're basically just simple but powerful tools to help bring you back to your body. And during my traumatic experiences, one of which was on an airplane, buckled in, about to land. So like, what can you do in that situation? I walked myself through the self-regulation practice. And because I had this understanding of what was happening in my body, and I had these simple but effective tools, I was able to just be really present with myself, and I had an understanding. I had, felt this huge rush of energy moving from the bottom up, and I understood, and I found my breath. And that's also why I'm so passionate about sharing these tools with children, because imagine that you have these tools when you're a child. Imagine you were taught how to breathe, and I have this vision of us not being a society of people in recovery, but being a resilient society, and trying to figure out what that looks like. So resilience is a really big part of it. Better preparing ourselves to handle stress or trauma in the future. Yeah.
And if I may ask, if I wanted to participate in a class, maybe not a trainer or teacher training, maybe that as well, but I would like to have a session with one of the trainers. Is there a possibility online, because we are all over the world, and that would be wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. So I teach a class online every Monday. Monday evening on this side of the world, that I can share the link with Deirdre. And yeah, if anyone's interested, it's donation based, so pay what you can. And yeah, all are welcome. It'd be great to have you.
And as we're on these type of topics, Brenda, I know that you are dependent on a lot of people donating what they can as well. So we're going to share the links that will help you to train and bring trauma recovery yoga to both Ukraine and Kurdistan. And obviously there's no pressure on anyone, but if you can make a contribution, we would all be grateful. The world would be grateful. And if you know anybody who would be so inclined, please share with them as well. We will have a replay of this session, by the way. And again, I would definitely encourage people to share this, to go back over it, to do these practices again, and really, really take the value from these. I'm just going to pop these in the chat now, but they will go out in the email as well. And again, we'll just open up the conversation now. If anybody has had some thoughts, please weigh in, and we'd love to hear from you. Maybe we can, does anybody need to come off mute? Give me a wave if you do, and we'll facilitate that.
Jisoo?
Thank you so much. It was really great. Because when I first hear the trauma recovery yoga, I felt it will be heavy.
Which is a common thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was thinking, maybe we need to think about what is our trauma and so on. So I thought, oh, it will be heavy yoga emotionally and so on. So I was a little bit, yeah. But it was not at all like that. So I was very feel comfortable, very safe, very yeah. It was really great, and it was a very, very great experience. I really liked this yoga. I didn't know, I didn't practice yoga, but this one I tried some, but this one I really feel great, and yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, it makes me feel great. And just I have one question about when we think, when you say I am, I don't know, I am like this or like that, and then we imagine I am, for example, brave or powerful and everything. Is this giving effect of hypnosis?
Hypnosis?
This is for.
I wouldn't say hypnosis. It's a great question. But I do think in a similar way, like you're subconsciously absorbing these words. And I believe, any change first comes with planting a seed of a thought. So you hearing these words, I am okay, I am healing, I am, so I wouldn't say hypnosis, but I do think that the process of, Deirdre, do you want to talk about the neuroplasticity part of it a little bit?
I guess so. Yeah, I think the thing that came up for me as you were asking this question, Jisoo, and as Brenda started answering there, is that sometimes there are concepts that are new to us, ideas that are new to us, and to just take these ideas on board, and then to become familiar with them, and to actually then start to believe them. These are things, we have a lot of things to unlearn when we sometimes take on these new ideas. And that's where our neuroplasticity comes in. But obviously we have to feel safe with these things, and we have to feel that we're in a place where we can believe them. And if we are just repeating words that we don't believe or that we're not open to believing, then it's very hard for that to become part of what we've learned, to become those new neural connections that come about with our neuroplasticity.
Yeah, so true. So I think the thought is where it starts. And then throughout the class, I'm encouraging you to exercise your power of choice, which I think plays a part in this. So, you know, it's like you're reinforcing every time you make a positive decision for yourself or honor what your body is telling you. You are reinforcing either your I am or just the, you know, because during trauma, your choice, you didn't choose for this to happen. So reinforcing that you do have a choice, you can make positive change, these ideas. Yeah, but I think that is a big difference with, like, you know, neuroplasticity and hypnosis. Like if you're just saying the words, but you don't believe them, you know, that's quite limited. But when you take positive action toward them, that's when the magic starts to happen.
And also the repetition, that we have those practices that we do again and again, and within the neuroplasticity function in our brain, when we repeat things, then these connections become stronger. Our brain does something called myelination, where it lays down this little coating around these bits of the neurons that connect with each other. And the more of that we've got, the more fluent our connections become between the neurons. So we've got, it's like when we start doing something first, when we start taking on these beliefs, the connection is it's like we've got old style dial-up telephones and we're kind of waiting for the internet connection to maybe connect and maybe it doesn't. But then as we do it more and more, as we've got this myelin coating these bits of the neurons, then it's like, oh my gosh, we've got this super fast broadband, and we're actually very, very fluent. We don't need to concentrate so hard on thinking these things. They come to us naturally.
And if I just can add something that I heard someone who I was working with, and we talked about neuroplasticity, and this person said, oh, this is hope. This is hope. And this is, you know, this is how I can shift from fear to hope. And that was so beautiful, so touching, because it is.
A six-syllable word for hope, isn't that it? Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, and we say that for neuroplasticity and vagal toning as well. So the vagus nerve is the largest nerve in your body, and it works in sync with your nervous system. And regardless of how weak your vagus nerve might be right now, and we really intentionally stimulate the vagus nerve throughout the class, as you heard me say a few times. You tone the vagus nerve, it becomes stronger with repetition and with practice, and when you sync your movement with your breath mindfully. So, you know, that the state of the vagus nerve really dictates the functioning of your body in most ways, I think. So there is hope with that too. You can strengthen it. You can shift the state of your mental and physical health through some of these practices with the repetition.
I really got a lot of benefit from yoga. It's my own experience. I had fibromyalgia, which doctor diagnosed nearly 15 years now. So with the complicated symptom, obviously involved a lot like anxiety, depression, or insomnia, IBS. Because of my nursing background, I sort of know very little knowledge like anxiety, stress. That's involved with a lot of health issue like you know, sleep quality like insomnia or IBS, or lots of people get tiredness, even it's because of anxiety. So over the years, I did a lot of natural therapy, help myself. I probably started the yoga 5-6 years ago. I don't know so much like you in the scientific side, which is this session really helped me understand more. But over the years, practice with like a breathing or different yoga movement, it does help me a lot with my symptom. You know, the generally like a palpitation gone, IBS improve sleep quality better. So I think the achievement for a lot of people, if didn't do, it's really can't believe. But this is what you are doing, try to help more people to get involved with this. And I think it's really benefit people a lot, because I know how much it helped me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much
you
for
for
sharing.
sharing.
I know we have a very experienced meditator in the room, and I'm wondering if she would be prepared to share her thoughts on today's session. It's my mom. What do you think, Mom?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I am here.
So
Can
what
you
did
hear
you
me?
think of that?
I thought it was absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And what was possibly different would have been the fact that these confirmations are the words that you're saying, you know, that you're saying things about yourself, that I'm confident, that I am, well, I would have said peaceful, that I am strong. And I thought they were wonderful to be saying that during to be saying that during the yoga. I thought that was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I'm so looking forward to telling so many other people about this. No,
That's lovely to hear.
Yes, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank all of you. I'm so passionate about sharing these tools, because honestly, they're like, we did a full practice, but if you just take what resonates with you and integrate them into your lives, like 1 minute here, 1 minute there, it can really make a difference. It was low-key life-changing for me and for a lot of people that we've been working with. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
And, yeah.
And my meditation would have been sort of the sitting still, kind of silent meditation. But it certainly has changed my life completely. Completely changed it. A lot of childhood fears went away. Yes.
And I think it's important for us too to like experiment, right, with like what techniques we really resonate with, because you know, sometimes I like to sit in silence and just focus on my breath. Sometimes that doesn't work for me. Sometimes I want to do something more active. So just feeling into like not only what works for you, but being open to the journey that will change, and that it's different for each one of us.
Oh yes, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. That is true. But it's great to give yourself time to do it. Just giving yourself the treat of having the time to do it.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, everyone. I think I'll just open up and say, is there anyone who has any final thoughts that they'd like to share, or any, you know, even just to come on and say hi to Brenda before we wrap up? You're more than welcome. This is a very, very open conversation today.
Well, I have to say, I really admire what Brenda is doing, which is help lots of people who really need help from the poor countries. You know, I will definitely interesting to join as a part. I know I'm quite far away in the UK, but anything if I can do, I would like to help, you know, people in the world, a lot are suffering. What you're doing is absolutely amazing. Really glad I joined today. Really learned a lot. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I just put my email in the chat for anyone who wants to reach out. And I think Deidre will include more information, as well as a guided meditation for you in the notes. Yeah, so please reach out. And the thing about the world today is it doesn't really matter where you are. We can reach each other, we can work together, and the more that there are of us, the stronger we become. So yeah, I'd love to collaborate somehow. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, great. I definitely would like to help with, like you said, children and also vulnerable women. I think those groups in special poor area, they need a lot of care. And if I will contact you after the session. if anything I can do, I will like help.
Please do. Thank you.
Well, there we go. Gabriella, would you do the honors? And
yes. So thank you, Brenda, for this fantastic session and calming session and turning inward session. And I would like to thank all the participants for your interest and for your participation. And we organized this event as part of the Brain Awareness Week. This is the 28th International Brain Awareness Week organized by the Dana Foundation. And if you found this event beneficial and you found, and I can see the faces, I don't even have to say that. And if you can share this experience with other people, we will share I think some links that will take you to Brenda's GoFund page.
Yes,
I think there is one for Ukraine, and you can also donate on PayPal to the Kurdistan program. Let's do that. I would encourage if you have any, if you can, maybe you could support and also invite others to support these fantastic initiatives. And also it's great that we heard that on Mondays you personally you offer classes, and I hope it's because we are in different time zones, so I will definitely check that out. Just to tone our vagus nerves. I think it's great for everyone. And just about the next event, I think tomorrow we are having a workshop, a 3-hour-long workshop, and I would like to invite you, and maybe you could invite other people. It's about the neuroscience and navigating unpleasant feelings. And this is tomorrow, starting at 1 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. Central European Time, online. Thank you very much.
thank you, Gabriella. Thank you, everyone. And oh gosh, where is that thing? I've got too many screens. Brenda, we so appreciate your generosity and your work and everything that you shared with us here today, and just the opportunity to learn more about this amazing yoga form. So I do hope that this will plant the little seeds, and things will grow from it as we go forward.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's been our pleasure, for sure. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll maybe see you again at an event soon. And yeah, keep spreading the word, let people know what we're doing, and invite more people who would be interested in this to come along to our events as well.